My husband said I wasn't good enough. Then he saw my new life. The last thing my husband ever said to me was, "You're just not good enough for the life I want." I believed him. For 6 years, I had cooked his meals, supported his career, paid bills when his business struggled, and stood beside him when everyone else told him he would fail. Then one Friday night, he packed a suitcase. He told me he had found someone who was more his type. 3 years later, he walked into a luxury restaurant, looked across the room and froze. Because the woman sitting at the head of that table was me, and the man standing beside me was someone he never expected to see. My name is Emily. At least, that's what I'll call myself for this story. When I met Daniel, I was 26 and working at a small marketing company in Chicago. Daniel was ambitious, charming, and incredibly confident. He had this way of talking about the future that made you feel like you were already part of it. He told me he wanted to build a successful company. He wanted a beautiful house. He wanted to travel. And eventually, he wanted kids. I didn't care about the money. I cared about the way he made me feel. So when he proposed 2 years later, I said yes. The first few years were good. Really good. Then Daniel's startup began struggling. And that's when everything changed. He became obsessed with success. He worked late. He traveled constantly. And whenever he came home, he seemed irritated that I wasn't living some glamorous life beside him. One night, I made dinner and waited for him until almost midnight. When he finally walked through the door, I smiled. Long day. He dropped his keys on the counter. You wouldn't understand. I remember that sentence because it was the beginning of the end. A few months later, Daniel started mentioning a woman named Rachel. She was a consultant who worked with his company. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Then he started comparing me to her. Rachel understands business. Rachel actually enjoys networking. Rachel knows how to present herself. I tried to ignore it. Until one evening, Daniel came home smelling like expensive perfume. I asked where he'd been. He said dinner with clients. But his phone told a different story. A message appeared on the screen while he was showering. Rachel, last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My stomach dropped. I didn't confront him immediately. I waited. When he came out, I simply asked, "Are you seeing Rachel?" He didn't even look surprised. He just sighed. And somehow, that hurt more than the message. You went through my phone. That isn't an answer. He stared at me for several seconds. Then he said, "Maybe I have feelings for her." I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. "Are you cheating on me?" He looked away. "Yes." One word. 6 years of marriage reduced to one word. I expected an apology. Instead, Daniel blamed me. "You've changed." I stared at him. "I changed." "You stopped trying." I laughed because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I've supported you for 6 years." "And that's exactly the problem," he said. "What does that mean?" He looked directly into my eyes. "You're comfortable, Emily. You're not ambitious anymore." Then came the sentence that stayed with me for years. "You're just not good enough for the life I want." I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I simply looked at him and asked, "Is that what Rachel gives you?" He grabbed his suitcase. "I think we both deserve better." Then he walked out. The first few weeks were brutal. I barely slept. I questioned everything. Maybe I really wasn't good enough. Maybe I had wasted my potential. Maybe Daniel was right. Then one morning, I opened my laptop and found an old folder. It contained something I had completely forgotten. A business plan. Something I had written before I married Daniel. It was for a digital marketing agency. I had always loved branding, storytelling, and strategy. But when Daniel's company started struggling, I had put my own dreams aside to help him. That night, I looked at the plan again. And I thought, what if I stopped trying to prove Daniel wrong and started trying to prove myself right? So I started. 1 client. Then 2. Then 5. I worked from my apartment. I learned everything I could. I made mistakes. I lost money. I cried. But I kept going. 6 months later, I hired my first employee. A year later, we had 12. 2 years later, our agency had grown beyond anything I had imagined. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't someone's wife. I was Emily. 3 years after Daniel left, I received an invitation to a business awards dinner. Our company had been nominated for a major industry award. I almost didn't go. Then my assistant said, "You've worked too hard to hide from your own success." So I went. I wore a simple black dress. Nothing dramatic. I didn't need to impress anyone. When I walked into the ballroom, I heard my name being called from across the room. I turned around. And there he was. Daniel. Standing beside Rachel. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Daniel walked toward me. "Emily." I smiled. "Hi, Daniel." He looked around. "Is this your company?" "Yes." He looked genuinely shocked. "I heard about this company." "I figured you had." He laughed nervously. "You look different." "I feel different." Then his eyes moved toward the man standing beside me. His name was James. He was my business partner. And eventually, he became something more. Daniel lowered his voice. "Are you with him?" I smiled. "Yes." He looked uncomfortable. "I didn't know." "You didn't ask." Later that evening, our company won the award. I walked onto the stage. The applause was loud. But I wasn't thinking about Daniel. I was thinking about the woman I had been 3 years earlier. The woman who believed she wasn't enough because the person she loved told her so. After the ceremony, Daniel approached me again. "I owe you an apology." I didn't say anything. I was wrong. I looked at him. "About what?" "About you not being good enough." For the first time, I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years. Regret. Then he said something I never expected. "Rachel left me." I almost smiled. Not because I was happy. Because suddenly, everything made sense. He hadn't come back because he loved me. He had come back because the life he chose hadn't worked out. "I don't want you back, Daniel." He nodded. "I understand." "No," I said quietly. "I don't think you do." He looked at me. "You didn't lose me because I wasn't good enough." I paused. "You lost me because you convinced me that I wasn't." Daniel walked away that night. And I never saw him again. A year later, James and I got married. Our company continued growing. But the biggest change wasn't financial. It was internal. I stopped measuring my worth through someone else's opinion. And that's the part of my story I wish I had understood sooner. Sometimes cheating isn't just about another person. Sometimes the deeper betrayal is when someone slowly convinces you that you're less valuable than you really are. Daniel thought leaving me would make his life better. Instead, it forced me to build a life without him. And years later, when he finally saw what I had become, he realized something painful. I hadn't become successful because he left me. I became successful because, after he left, I finally stopped believing him.